Good morning, everyone. This is Corey Strothman from Grace in Your Corner, and I want to talk to you a little bit today about an article I just wrote about the 5 keys to creating your own odds. And I'm also going to throw a little bit more in today, talking about some of those downfalls, those barriers that might come into play as you go through those. So let's take a look. If you haven't read the article yet, I encourage you to get on and read it. It's a quick read. But I want to start with the quote that I put on this article from Elon Musk. And it's, when something is important enough, you do it even when the odds are not in your favor. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, is really finding out what is important to us and how can we accomplish those things. So I started off by talking about the most crucial piece. And if you had to highlight, to circle, to star, this one is imperative. And that's identifying your why. Everything we do in life, there should be a centered, focused why of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. For me, my why is I am doing everything to obtain the best quality of life for myself, for my family, for my friends. I want to give myself the life that I deserve, so everything I do is directly relating right back to that why. The reason that you need to have that why is too often we find in life that what we do is we have a goal in mind, but we don't really know the main purpose behind it. So we're essentially just throwing darts blindfolded. Well, we're going to do something over here, then we're going to bounce over there, and there's no reason that's truly behind it. It's imperative that we know everything that we're doing directly relates back to that why. If it's not helping our why get stronger, to achieve our why to get better, then I'll challenge you, why do you need it? Can you remove that from what you're doing? Because we have to be able to grow in the area that we want to. So after you identify that why and really spend time on that, because that is so important, that is the key, the foundation for this entire process. And if you want to know more, I actually encourage you to check out Simon Sinek. He has a great information on YouTube. Just YouTube him and the reason behind why, and you can get some more information on that. But once you have your why, that's when you sit down and you develop your plan. How are you going to truly accomplish and improve on your why? I posted a post this morning that said, a goal without a plan is just simply a wish. And that is so true. If you don't have a plan in place of how you're going to execute and get to that end result, you might as well take a lawn chair, go back out to the back of your yard on a night and just look for a shooting star and wish. Or take a penny and go to the mall for the wishing well. Because there's no true reason or logic to help you get to where you want to go. You have to have that plan with steps lined out of how you're going to achieve your why. And that might mean that you sit down with support staff and help you accomplish that, but you need to have the plan in place. I'm not asking for a 42-page document that you reference and say, okay, well, on page 40, on 41, if you look at paragraph B, no. We're not looking for a plan that sits on the shelf and is a dust collector, that you're not going to pull it back out. You want something that's simplistic for you to remember with some key steps of how to accomplish that. So develop that plan, have it in place, and make sure that you stick to it. And the second piece of it then is embrace your support team. You have a team there that's going to help you. It's holding you accountable. When I came back from Kansas City, I had a very outlined plan of what I was going to do to make sure that I was achieving the best quality of life that I could have. And I shared that with my support team, number one, so they could help hold me accountable. I think it's very important that when you have a goal, that you publicize that so people know what you're working towards, so they can check in to see how the progress is going. And also because nothing needs to be done in life alone. You can do this with the help of others. Some of these things are tough. To do them on your own will do nothing but burn yourself out. That's why I have my support group. If there's days where I'm low energy and I'm not feeling life, that's when I can't fight as much as I should for myself. I've got people that are fighting for me. That's the beauty of it. Because at the end of every day, You should make yourself a little better version of what you were before. When you wake up to the time you go to bed, your goal is to improve from yesterday's self. And if you can do that each and every day, you'll be amazed at the progress you can make in just a year, in 6 months. I'm 6 months from coming back from Kansas City, and every day I live a little better quality of life than the day before. So embrace your support team. I also think, though, it's very important for the support team. A failure that I see is when you don't clearly establish barriers. You have to have clearly defined barriers so it doesn't become too much, so it doesn't become overwhelming. I don't want my support group to call me every day and check in on me. That's too much. I've told my family, I've told some of my friends that, hey, you know what, I'll check in with you once a week. I'll either shoot you a message or I will give you a phone call. But if you are trying to reach out to me every day, I'm going to ask that you don't. I'm going to have this firm barrier on connections because I want to make sure that it doesn't become overwhelming and it doesn't actually become the adverse effect of a support group. So if you have barriers, just make sure you clearly define those for people. And that way, your support group can truly work to the capacity that it should. The other thing is failure. Failure is going to happen. I mean, that's a part of life. I wish I could say no one's ever going to fail. But failure is what can make us the people we are today. I truly believe without my failure that I wouldn't have ever seen the path that I could go down and to the glorious places that I'm heading. But when you fail, you can't fall into that trap of just giving up. You can't fall into the trap of looking and saying, this is impossible. This goal is never going to happen. I know what my life is about. I know the path that I was given, the cards that I was dealt, and just live with that. When you fail forward. That means continue the momentum of going towards your goal. Don't let that negative mindset sneak in and saying, you can't do this. This is too hard. What you're trying to work for isn't even worth it. If you have a firm established why, absolutely, a better quality of life for myself is worth it. Don't get caught up in the road bumps, the speed bumps of life. Know that you can overcome those. And again, rely on your support group to help get you through those. The next one is tracking progress. Your plan, you have to know if it's working. And if you just set a plan out in January and 6 months later you come back and you're saying, okay, yes, it worked or no, it didn't, that won't be effective. If it's losing weight, for example, you get on the scale in January and then with the diet that you put in place and some of the exercises, you get on the scale in 6 months and you've only lost a pound. It didn't have to be that way. You could have been checking in throughout to make sure what you have in place is working. Because if not, you might need to go back and tweak that plan. You might need to look and say, okay, what is working in here? But let's identify those key areas that need opportunity for growth still. That is imperative when looking at a plan. Otherwise, again, you're wasting time. And I related it to a chef in the kitchen. When you have this recipe that's great at the end, as a chef, you're tasting that recipe, you're sampling throughout to make sure that it ends where it needs to end. You don't want to go through the entire recipe and at the end put out a product that is less than desirable. You want to know when you get to that end point, man, I've checked in on A, B, C, and D. I know I arrived at where I deserve to arrive. And I said the same thing in education. When your kid goes to school and enters third grade, teachers don't just wait until the end of third grade to say, okay, are they ready for fourth grade? No, they're checking in daily to see that they are learning the things that they need to have them ready. We need to do the same thing for ourselves, to have that progress, to monitor it closely, and adapt and change when necessary. Don't go revamp the entire plan, but change when necessary. And the last thing is just do a few things great. Don't come with the mindset that I'm going to change A, B, C, and D, and I'm going to do this all at once. What will happen is you'll do a lot of things with mediocrity, and you'll end up burning yourself out. Focus on a few things and do those great. Become great in an area, because eventually that will become habit. When it's becoming a real estate agent, I'm going to work on one or two things and really become rock solid in those. And once I'm rock solid in those and it's habit of my day, then I can identify a few more. But if I want to try to make the entire thing, if I just say I'm going to become a great real estate agent with no specific focus on one or two things, then what'll happen? I'll probably fall in that 87% that don't make it. So identify a few things, become great in those areas at first, and when you're comfortable with that and it is habit, then go on and find a few more things. You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish when you do a few good things great. But let's talk about some things, some downfalls that you could run into as well. And one of the biggest things is when you're seeking advice, there is a very fine line between listening to advice that you get and getting too much advice. Your support group. Listen to the advice that they're giving. Say, okay, these people I really trust. I'm going to listen to their advice. That doesn't mean that I'm going to implement everything they say, but I'm going to hear them out. And balance that with when you come in contact with everyone, because I get a lot of advice from so many people, all out of love, and I appreciate it all. But if I would go and I would change something every time someone comes to me with new advice, then I'd be doing something here. Then 2 days later, I'd say, okay, I'm going to incorporate this. And then I just become scattered all over the board. And again, that's not going to work. I need to have that why. I need to focus on my plan. Not saying that you're rude and you don't listen. We can always learn from other people, but don't become a person that takes somebody's advice and just instantly revamps everything they're doing. You took the time to carefully develop this detailed plan. Don't abort it after a week. You can become the person that you want to become based off of your plan. So find that line between advice. And the last thing I'm going to tell you is know that you are worth it. You're doing this plan because you are worth it. And sometimes when we fail, we fall into that trap that we know, okay, man, I'm just, you know what, I know what I was dealt. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to live life the way that I guess I was supposed to live. And that's not true. You are worth living the best life possible for yourself. And that means that you have to continue to go out and do everything in place to manage those stresses, whether it's mental health, addiction, weight, profession. Give it your all. It is hard work. It's sweat. It's tears. It's heartache. But you're worth it. At the end of the day, you're worth it. The people around you are worth it. And know that your life, you've got all sorts of people in your corner that are there and they know you're worth it. And they're going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you and love you, hey, I know it was a hard day, but what you're doing is working. I love the track that you're on. But until you can see that in yourself, it's going to be very hard to accomplish. Know that you're worth it. And the last thing is just trust and faith in God. God is there in the highs. God is there in the lows. God is always there for you. And even when times get tough, God knows what you're worth. God put you on this earth for a reason. So manage your life and do the very best that you can each and every day. Become a better version of yourself. And if you put all of these things in place, focusing on that key why, you're going to be so happy with the results. So continue to do it. Continue to make progress every day. And I am going to be so happy. Let me know your celebrations. Continue to reach out to me. I enjoy talking with each and every one of you. But these are just a few of my hints that can help guide you along the way as you become a better version of yourself. Because no matter what the percentages say, if you can focus on these things, you will defy all odds. Good luck and God bless.